What's the most shocking thing you've heard the quiet kid say? Story 1. In high school, there was this really quiet girl named Grace. She was a pleasant person, but wouldn't say anything more than hi or sorry unless you asked her something. Even then, she'd appear terrified. I was at prom, and I was in the parking lot of the venue we had prom at. I lost contact and had run to my car to grab my glasses. In the parking lot, Grace was smiling and walking from her car. She looked at me, laughed, and said, "Ryan," her prom date, just fingered the fuck out of me. I still laugh about it to this day. Story 2. In junior high in the mid-'80s, the game Trivial Pursuit was all the rage. We played it in math class, and one day this kid, Gary, who never said anything at all, totally spanked everyone else by answering every single sports-related trivia question. He got a lot of attention for it, and I believe he walked a little taller after that day. I don't think I ever heard him say anything else, but I did see him sitting on the bleachers at a few sports events. Story 3. So this one kid, who barely ever said 2 words, one day, asked the teacher for the time. It was at some after-school thing where there was no clock. The teacher says the classic, "Time for you to get a watch," which for some reason was funny to everyone else. The quiet kid doesn't laugh. He looks the teacher dead in the eyes, and once everyone quieted down, he says, "So you're going to tell me the fucking time, or what?" We were in like 7th grade. Story 4. The quiet kid from my grade stood up one day, grabbed a broom, stood on a chair, and began trying to swat bees that got inside. One bee landed on the window where the quiet kid proceeded to yell, "Die, bee, die!" and then swatted and shattered the window. He screeched when it happened, and then sat back down. We never heard him speak again. Story 5. In class, he asked the woman teacher if he could go to the toilet. She sternly replied, "You've got 2 minutes, Richard." And Richard says, "2 minutes? It takes me that long to unravel it." The teacher goes red, and everyone loses it. Story 6. This douchebag kid who constantly fucked with people was in line with the quiet kid and the quiet kid's friend. The quiet kid is a bit overweight, so when he gets up to the lunch lady and gets his chicken nuggets, the douchebag says, "You don't want extra nuggets, big guy?" The quiet kid out of nowhere just starts ranting, "Nah, I'm all set, but what are you up to this weekend? You want to hang out and grab some food and maybe fuck a little bit? I like to be on top, and you look like a good bottom. What do you say? You want to fuck tonight?" The entire line is dead silent. The douchebag starts getting all pissed off and acting like he's going to start a fight, and then the quiet kid says, "Okay, fine. You can be top, baby." The douchebag kid leaves to the entire line laughing their asses off at his expense. No idea if the quiet kid was gay or if he just knew that even jokingly suggesting that douche kid was a homosexual would upset him more than anything. But I do know that he left the line with his delicious chicken nuggets and a huge smile on his face. Story 7. We were having a bullshit elective course and we ran out of stuff to do, so we wound up having story time. My friend walks up to the front and starts telling us about how he once got pretty badly injured. Basically, he was walking into his friend's house, slipped on some black ice, face planted on it, and his front teeth tore off most of his front lip and broke off. He ran into the house babbling and bleeding. He was like 11 and missing part of his face, so he wasn't 100% coherent at the time. And his friend's mom takes one look, runs into the bedroom, locks the door, and doesn't do anything until my friend's dad arrives and starts screaming at her. My friend says he still has no idea why the grown adult woman couldn't handle the situation any better, and we all start making guesses and bullshit psychoanalysis. Cue the quiet kid raising his magnificent head and blessing us with enlightenment. Maybe she just needed to finger herself real quick. Story 8. In class, we were studying genetics, and one guy was being a real douche, and the teacher couldn't get him to shut up. Then after discussing inbreeding in dogs, one quiet kid raises his hand and says, "So this is likely how Peter, douche, became so fucking retarded." Story 9. In high school, I had first level Spanish with this kid who was super quiet. At the end of the year, we all had to give a speech in Spanish in front of the entire class. This motherfucker stood up and gave a speech, not in Spanish, but in a language that he had spent the entire year inventing. Story 10. Quiet guy I work with never said much until he came up to me and asked, "What happens when an Eskimo comes?" Before I get the chance to respond, he throws a handful of ice at me and walks away. Story 11. At school, having just shown me the scope for a, supposedly his, sniper rifle, if the fire alarm goes off and you can never find me, don't use the doors as an exit. Story 12. I was in marching band in high school, probably 7 years ago now, and we had this huge muscular guy as our brass instructor. He would always yell at us to nail these chords, or you're not playing loud enough. And there was this little Asian trumpet kid that was so innocent and nice, he barely ever spoke a word. One really, really hot afternoon, our instructor was being especially loud and said, "Why don't the trumpets blow hard enough?" Dead silence across the field as all the brass are waiting for the next instructions. Then we hear, "Why doesn't your mom blow this dick hard enough?" from Quiet Trumpet Kid. Needless to say, we all laughed, got push-ups, and laughed some more. Story 13. One of my students hardly said a word all year until a couple weeks ago. I was trying to get a group of talkative ones under control, and she had enough. She yells out, "Shut the fuck up, I'm trying to work, you fucking assholes." Awkward silence followed because I didn't know how to handle the normally studious and quiet one losing it. I was like this in middle school. Not exactly quiet, but I never really socialized except with people right beside me in the form of asking for a pencil. One day the classroom douche happened to be more douchey than I could stand for, and I stood up out of my seat and yelled at him and sat back down. The entire class fell silent, but he never got that douchey again. Story 14. I was best friends with the quiet kid in middle school. It wasn't so much shocking as the stupidest thing I've heard him say. He got this 1,000-yard stare all of a sudden and just said, "I can't remember what color my dog is." Story 15. My dad is very quiet, to the point that it makes most people uncomfortable, even me sometimes. One day, we're at the park and a woman walks past us, and my dad quickly says, "What if I punched that woman in the face and said, 'Sorry, I thought you were my wife'?" Story 16. He started to attack someone in my class with a table when the teacher got a cup of coffee. That was quite something. Story 17. Wow, literally this question came at the perfect time. I was just thinking about this, and it was by far in sophomore year of high school. This kid was so odd that honestly no one ever really noticed him, but one day he's sitting across from me at the table and he sees this one girl in really tight shorts and goes, "God damn, I could have my head up her ass for months." And it was pretty shocking. Story 18. I went to middle school and high school with this boy named Daniel. Never once heard him say a word. A friend of mine said he would whisper sometimes. The night of our senior party, we heard some music coming over from the corner where the karaoke machine was set up. At first, no one really noticed him because people had been singing on it all night, and most people stopped paying attention. But this was different because no one was singing and the music was playing. The DJ stopped the music and started the song again. Daniel was standing there, looking frightened, but this time around when the song started, he began to sing. Everyone in the room stopped what they were doing and just crowded around him. He wasn't a great singer by any means, but 99% of the people in the room hadn't ever heard him talk. When the song was over, everyone started clapping and cheering, and he walked away with a big smile on his face.